So what are we looking for in an asbestos inspection in terms of areas and those sort of things?
We're tending to look at any areas where there might be cement sheet products. So that's going to be in wet areas, also outside. Eaves are a perfect example. Sometimes in meter boxes, probably not this one because looks like the meter box has been replaced. Bathrooms, kitchens, laundries, wall floors, and also wall linings in those areas as well.
So basically, in the day, asbestos was used in wet areas, heated, so it was good. It was fireproof in a way.
Yeah, great product in regards to heat resistance.
Heat resistance, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah. So, and it tends to be in the areas where people want to renovate. They want to rip up their bathroom, rip up their kitchen, those sort of things, and it's just peace of mind just to get a check first.
Absolutely, a lot of the renovation shows and things like that have historically not shown any asbestos being removed. They're starting to do that now, which is great, but it's given people a bit of a false sense of security to think that they can just pull things out. Obviously they can, but you're putting yourself and other people at risk by doing that.
And one of the more unsightly sort of jobs that we do are when people are halfway through a renovation and we're actually coming in to do a test, and we have to actually tell the people that they've been playing with asbestos for whatever length of time. So
and it can be quite disturbing for people. I've had people say, should we move out into a hotel and I've vacuumed it up, is that okay? Well, probably not. If it winds up being asbestos after we get it tested at the lab, then your vacuum cleaner is probably going to have to be disposed of, along with the asbestos by the asbestos remover.
And we're not out there to frighten people either. I mean, some of the times we're doing tests and we're telling them good news. It's negative, go for it.
Yeah, and that's the best news you can possibly give. You don't have the cost of then having to get the asbestos removed. You can remove it. You'll have a report from us, a certificate from the lab saying it's not asbestos, which means that anyone comes into your house, you can show that to them, that it's been tested, they're working in a safer environment. And if you are doing it yourself, you take it to the tip, you can show the rubbish transfer station that it is just cement sheet, it's been sampled. Because if you try and take any of those products that are potentially asbestos, they've got every right to knock you back at the tip, because you could be contaminating the whole site.
So our reports come with a lab report, so we take samples away to get tested by a NATA approved laboratory. So we get a real 100% yes or no on it. Now also, if we do find asbestos, we can take them through the whole process, can't we? We can organise the asbestos removal by an independent company, and we actually do a clearance certificate at the end to make sure it's all gone. Yeah,
absolutely. So once it's all been done, there's a certificate issued which is all WorkSafe compliant after the removal's been done. And everything's notified through WorkSafe as well, so they can all be inspected at that point as well by WorkSafe, and they do spot checks as well. It's all above board, all happy, and everyone gets the right answers.
So with these types of asbestos audits, people are generally ringing us for a reason. They're either buying the property and they want to know where the asbestos is because they're concerned about it. But in this particular case, we've got someone who wants to put on an extension.
So in this case, the clients are looking at doing an extension to the property. They're going to be coming out this way. Therefore, this part of the roof here and the eave lining here is going to have to be removed. So for peace of mind, both for the occupants and for anyone working on the property, we're going to be sampling the cement sheet here. So this house was built in the 80s, early 80s, which puts it in the pocket of when asbestos was being used in cement sheet products. So taking a sample of this, sending it off to a NATA lab, and providing the client with a full report, and also the report from the lab as well, which is an independent report. We'll let them know exactly what's going on and whether it is asbestos or not.
And in today's world, in terms of construction and those sort of things, I suppose tradies our age and younger are more aware of asbestos. So you'd often find when you get tradesmen on your site, they do actually request an asbestos report to know what they're dealing with. Even if it's repairs like a sparky or someone or an electrician looking at that eave, they want to know if that's asbestos or not. So an independent asbestos report is not only great for the asbestos removalist because he knows what he needs to remove, but also the tradesmen who come on site.
Absolutely. And the other thing to bear in mind is if you don't have someone who's too keen or too aware of the asbestos, being a tradesman coming on site, it's not just themselves that they're putting at risk, they're also putting yourselves at risk. They're leaving that, assuming it is asbestos, they're leaving that debris behind. And yeah, the worst inspection that we have to do is when that has actually happened, and then the client has had a comment from a friend or relative or something like that to say, did you get that checked for asbestos? And when they say no, and then they're worried about the kids running around and all those sort of things, that's an emotional thing to be going through. So obviously we're always hoping at that point that it's a negative result and we're doing it for no reason, but having that, knowing that information and actually knowing it is really important.
And more people, we get phone calls through the gym's call centre. People are actually worried about the health of their home too, so it can be asbestos, it can be mould, inspections that we do, and also more recently meth testing and those sort of things. So we've covered all the structural side of it, but they're also concerned about those things as well.
Yeah, the health is more and more of an issue, and we're sealing our houses up more and more, and we're not ventilating them, which is becoming a massive issue, and I think will continue to be more of an issue over time. And then meth is crystal ice, whatever you want to call it, is becoming more of an issue because it's not just the cooking it, it's the smoking it in the houses as well, and the need for decontamination at that point too.
It's a good point you make with the energy efficiency in homes these days. Over the last 30 years, every house has been sealed shut, but we're relying on mechanical ventilation, so we're relying on the people to ventilate the homes, and if they're not doing that, there are issues with mould and those sort of things.
Absolutely, and stacking boxes up against a wall and beds up against a wall and closing a door and filling it up with stored items or anything like that. Not opening the windows or doors on warm days where it's lower humidity are all things, those things you can do to actually improve the health of your house. We seem to be moving further towards a European sort of style of energy efficiency, but we're missing a piece of the puzzle where in Europe they still seal the buildings up really tight, but then they put in ventilation systems that recover the heat or the cooling, and we're doing the first part where we're sealing the house up, but then we're not doing the second part where we're actually bringing fresh air in, and that's where a lot of the older houses, as much as they're not as energy efficient, they're potentially healthier because they're leaking air, so you're getting those air transfers through, and that's making the building healthier. So I've been asked to come in here to do an asbestos audit on this bathroom. So what we're going to do, given the age of the house, it's pre-90s, so there's a chance there's asbestos linings behind all these surfaces, under the floor and behind the wall linings here as well. So what we need to do is to remove a section of tile and take a physical sample. We need a sample about the size of a 50-cent piece. So what we'll do there, I've got all my protective equipment here, and we give everything a spray down with water and PVA, which basically inhibits any fibres becoming airborne. We take a sample and then we send it off to the lab to be analysed. There's a lot of Googling that goes on about asbestos and how do I tell if it's asbestos. The simple fact is the only way to tell if it's asbestos is to send it off to a lab. They've got high power microscopes, they use special dyes, they're properly trained for this, they don't just Google the results. And you got kids or other people in houses, it's just not worth the risk. So get it tested and know. And therefore you're also bringing trades into this environment. So you're asking the tiler, the carpenter, all these people to come into your house to work in an area that may be dangerous to their health. And you're obviously left with the residual of all that, so make sure you get it right.
Okay, so there you have it. We've finished our asbestos inspection. So what do we do from here?
So I package up the samples, send them off to the lab. We usually have the results back within 24 hours to 3 days, at which point the clients can make a decision as to what they're going to do.